The airplane's wheels touched the runway with a soft metallic shudder, but Amelia Carter felt it like an earthquake. A new city, a new life, a new chance. One she had whispered to herself through months of quiet panic, career burnout, and that hollow feeling that New York had finally squeezed her dry. But Paris? Paris was supposed to be the balm, la ville lumière, a place where people started over simply by daring to breathe differently. From the window, she saw a blur of terminal lights, then the reflection of her own anxious face. Wide brown eyes, hair messily pinned by a clip she bought at JFK after promising herself she'd look effortlessly Parisian. She did not. She looked like a woman holding in a scream. "Okay," she whispered. "We're doing this." The plane door opened. A rush of foreign air washed over her. Colder, scented with something floral and metallic at once. Paris air. Real Paris air. Amelia stepped out as if crossing into a sacred novel she had read too many times. And then, chaos. The airport swallowed her instantly. People speaking French too fast, signs she assumed she understood but apparently didn't, and an entire flood of passengers who moved with a kind of synchronized. She tripped over her suitcase. Twice. Still, underneath the embarrassment, something electric hummed in her chest. She was finally here. Her rideshare driver held a small cardboard sign, Emily Carter. Close enough. He was tall, impeccably dressed, and wore sunglasses indoors, because of course he did. "You are going to Rue du Verbois?" he asked in a thick Parisian accent that instantly made her forget how English worked. Oui, yes, oui, sorry, both." He gave a small smile, the kind that suggested he had witnessed this performance 1,000 times from nervous expats and was grading hers in silence. Outside the airport windows, Paris glowed under a pale golden morning. Not movie golden, not Instagram golden, more realistic golden. Slightly gray, slightly tired, but still heartbreakingly beautiful in a way that hit her so hard she forgot to breathe. She pressed her forehead to the window as the car glided past Haussmann buildings, boulangeries with lines already forming, cafés where stylish women sipped espresso like it was the easiest thing on earth. This could be my life, Amelia told herself. This is my life. Everything felt almost too cinematic until the car stopped in front of her new apartment building. The address was correct. The picture from the listing was not. Wait, no, Amelia stared. This can't be it. The online photos, power boxes, an elegant carved door, ivy climbing romantic lines up the walls. In reality, the building looked like it had once been charming, but had long since given up. Much like a man who had stopped wearing belts because sweatpants were easier. The shutters hung crooked. The stone was not creamy, but suspiciously stained. And the entry code panel sparked slightly when her driver touched it. "C'est Paris," he said, with a shrug that meant take it or leave it, and left her with 2 heavy suitcases and a suddenly aggressive sense of reality. Inside smelled like old wood, old cigarettes, and older secrets. She climbed 5 floors, 5, because the elevator existed only as a myth whispered by past tenants. At the top, panting and ready to sue gravity, Amelia unlocked the door to her beautiful attic apartment with a view. The door creaked. The light flickered. The view was a brick wall. Not scenic brick, not inspiring brick. brick that looked like it actively hated her. And the apartment? Tiny didn't describe it. She could stretch both arms and almost touch opposite walls. The kitchenette was essentially a toaster with ambition. The shower was in the kitchen. The toilet was in a closet inside the kitchen. She sat on the lone chair, a wobbly one, and whispered, "Well, at least it's Paris." The wobbly chair gave up and collapsed beneath her. "Of course," he said, staring at the ceiling from the floor. "Of course this is how my new life starts." A soft sound came from outside her door, scraping, shifting. Someone was there. Amelia stood, brushed dust off her jacket, and opened the door. A man stood in the hallway, carrying a camera bag over one shoulder and a baguette under the other arm. His hair was messy in the effortlessly stylish way that made her instantly suspicious. His eyes were warm. His smile was the kind women write entire novels about. "Bonjour," he said, voice low, casual, warm. "You must be the new American." "Oh, yes, that's me. New American. Old American too, technically. I mean, I'm still American. Sorry, words." His smile widened. "I'm Alex. I live 2 doors down." He nodded toward the broken chair behind her. "Rough start?" "You could say that. Don't worry." He leaned slightly closer, the hallway light catching the warm brown in his eyes. "Paris punishes everyone the first day. It's a hazing ritual." She laughed, nervous, awkward, delighted. "Good to know," she said. "And does it get better?" Alex shrugged one shoulder. "It depends. Do you like adventure?" She wanted to say yes. She wanted to say no. She wanted to ask him out for coffee and also hide under a blanket. Her brain short-circuited. Sort of? Maybe? Sometimes?" His laugh was soft, almost teasing. "Well then, Amelia from America," he said. "Welcome to the neighborhood." He walked past her, the scent of cedar and something warm and masculine lingering in the air. Okay, Amelia thought. Maybe this city isn't trying to kill me. Maybe it's trying to flirt. The next morning, Amelia hurried through the narrow streets toward her new workplace, Maison Lumière, a boutique influencer marketing agency run by French women with cheekbones sharp enough to slice glass. She arrived breathless, hopeful, and 5 minutes early, which apparently in Paris meant 10 minutes too early. Her boss, Celeste, approached her with the grace of someone who had been intimidating since birth. She was tall, elegant, wearing an all-black outfit so perfectly tailored that it looked like Paris itself had sewn it onto her. "You are Amelia Carter?" she asked. "Yes," Amelia offered a too bright smile. "So excited to be here." Celeste looked at her like excitement was a contagious disease. "Americans always are. Strike one." They walked through the airy office. Minimalistic furniture, soft lighting, plants thriving everywhere. Amelia felt like she had entered the Instagram Explore page. Celeste introduced her. Produce was generous. It was more of a gentle acknowledgement that she existed, followed by very fast French. Then came the task. "You will manage a micro-campaign for our client," Celeste said. "A small chocolatier in Le Marais. Do not change the brief. Do not improvise. Do not Americanize." "Of course," Amelia said, though she was already sweating. Then, to clarify, what does Americanize mean? Celeste smiled without smiling. "It means, whatever you are thinking, do not do that." Oh, strike two. The client meeting was at 11 o'clock, and Amelia spent the next hour reviewing the brief. Elegant, minimal, timeless. Don't be loud, don't be playful, don't be quirky. She arrived at the cafe early, again. still too American. Inside, the chocolatier, the owner's son, looked impossibly chic in a way that made Amelia feel like her entire outfit was an apology. But the meeting went downhill fast. While explaining the campaign, Amelia made a tiny joke about chocolate so good it could fix your ex. The owners stared. Celeste glared. The son frowned like chocolate should never be associated with exes or humor. Amelia's throat tightened. Then, catastrophe. She spilled her coffee over the samples. The artisan, limited edition, handmade truffles. Oh my God, I am so sorry. Oh my God. Celeste closed her eyes, very slowly. Strike 3. After the meeting, Celeste walked beside her in silence, punishing silence, the kind that filled the entire street. "You will have a second chance," she finally said, "but only because our intern broke her leg and we have no one else." "Thank you?" Amelia said, unsure. "That was not praise," Celeste replied. Determined not to fail twice in one day, Amelia returned to the office and threw herself into salvage mode. She researched the chocolatier, their story, their branding. Everything screamed heritage, luxury, tradition, but their social media? Dull, outdated, no life. So she did what came naturally. She created a new angle, still elegant but with warmth. A concept called la douceur partagée, the sweetness we share. Photos of people connecting over chocolate. Lovers, friends, families. Real emotion, not stiff product shots. She mocked up a few visuals, added soft Parisian tones, and wrote a tagline that made her genuinely proud. She wasn't sure if it was French enough, but it felt honest. When just professionally humiliating and emotionally exhausting and culturally confusing. She paused. But I think I didn't totally screw up. For Paris, he said, that's practically a triumph. The way he looked at her then, warm, amused, just a little impressed, sent a soft flutter through her stomach. Not dramatic, not cinematic, but real. And as they walked together down the street, the city shimmering under early evening light, Amelia felt something she hadn't felt since stepping off the plane. A small, quiet belief that she might survive Paris. And maybe, just maybe, Paris might change her too. Where small mistakes finally Paris had a way of making even disasters look aesthetic. Amelia wasn't sure if that was comforting or terrifying. The week after the rooftop showcase passed in a blur of adrenaline, sleepless nights, and a surprising amount of journal entries, because she discovered that the only way to keep up with her thoughts was to write them down before they escaped like sparrows. But beneath all the excitement, there was a slow, invisible tightening. A pressure she didn't notice at first. A pressure that was about to snap. At Maison Lumière, the showcase presentation became the hottest internal conversation of the month. Mostly because nobody expected a newcomer to pull off something that stylish, that unexpected, and that viral. Amelia's confidence grew too quickly. She didn't brag, she didn't change. But when people started turning to her, taking notes from her, including her in meetings where she previously wasn't welcome, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Usefulness, presence, meaning. And maybe that was the beginning of the problem, because she didn't realize she had stepped into a nest of egos. Clémence, who had lost face in front of the entire team after dismissing Amelia's idea, shifted her tone from passive-aggressive to just aggressive. Her compliments turned into stabs coated in honey. "Très mignonne," Your little American idea? So fresh, like a teenage babysitter's vision board. Try to remember, Paris is not TikTok. Emilia tried to ignore her. It wasn't easy, especially when Clémence began making small adjustments to Emilia's tasks, redesigning things she had already approved, sending emails on her behalf, rewriting them to sound colder, more formal, and extremely un-Emilia. Even accidentally removing her from certain meetings. The worst part? She didn't complain. Because she thought she could fix it alone. Because she thought she had to earn her place. Because Paris wasn't supposed to break her this quickly. Clémence, who had lost face in front of the entire team after dismissing Emilia's idea, shifted her tone from passive-aggressive to just aggressive. Her compliments turned into stabs coated in honey. Très mignonne, your little American idea. So fresh, like a teenage babysitter's vision board. Try to remember, Paris is not TikTok. Emilia tried to ignore her. It wasn't easy, especially when Clémence began making small adjustments to Emilia's tasks, redesigning things she had already approved, sending emails on her behalf, rewriting them to sound colder, more formal, and extremely un-Emilia. Even accidentally removing her from certain meetings. The worst part? She didn't complain. Because she thought she could fix it alone. Because she thought she had to earn her place. Because Paris wasn't supposed to break her this quickly. Maison Lumière had spent months preparing for the Renaissance campaign, their most important annual project. The one that determined whether the agency kept their crown among French luxury giants. And somehow, due to a mix of employee reshuffling, miscommunication, and ill-timed optimism, Emilia was put in charge of building the first draft of a social-first visual direction. Not alone, but her name was on it. It was the biggest assignment she had ever received. So she did what she always did in moments of terror. She overworked, she oversmiled, she overcompensated. For 3 nights, she slept a total of 8 hours. She made 20 different mood boards. She refined every color palette, every micro angle of every reference. She wanted something bold, something new, something unforgettable, something that felt like the Paris she saw, the one that was intoxicating, lightly impossible. When she walked into the office that Monday morning, her laptop was practically radiating heat from all the rendering. She felt proud. No, she felt hopeful, which made what happened next even worse. The room was wide, modern, and painfully glassy. The kind of meeting room that made you feel like every insecurity was being projected onto the walls. Emilia connected her laptop to the screen. Her hands shook, but she smiled. Clémence sat across from her, perfectly centered, as if studying a painting she already knew she would hate. Thomas was on her left. He wasn't part of this project, but he showed up by coincidence, which made Emilia's heart race. The creative directors watched with neutral faces. And then Emilia began, a gentle intro, a vision, a promise of something modern but poetic. Slide 1, slide 2, slide 3. Her voice grew stronger. She felt the room leaning in. For a moment, just one, she believed. And then, stop. Clémence's voice cut through the room like a cold knife. Show the mood board, she said. I'm already showing it, Emilia replied, confused. No, the final approved one. Emilia's stomach dropped, because she had used the board she created herself. The one she poured her heart into, not the version Clémence edited behind her back. I didn't realize it was finalized, Emilia said, her voice trembling. You never replied to my last email. Check again, Clemence answered, crossing her legs with slow, theatrical precision. I sent it Saturday morning. Everyone felt the air shift. Saturday morning was when Emilia was presenting the rooftop campaign, when she was completely offline, when she physically couldn't have responded. Clémence knew that. Silence. Then one of the directors sighed, and the sound felt like a verdict. We'll need a revised draft by Thursday. The meeting ended. People stood, chairs slid, emails pinged, but Emilia stood frozen in her spot, unable to breathe. As people left the room, Clémence leaned close to Emilia and whispered, quietly, sweetly, viciously, Bienvenue à Paris. That was the moment something inside Emilia cracked, quietly, invisibly, like a fracture beneath the surface of glass. A fracture that would later shatter. After the meeting, Thomas found her in the small courtyard behind the office, sitting on a stone bench, hugging her laptop like it was the only thing holding her together. She didn't cry. She didn't even blink. She just stared ahead, hollow. Amelia, Thomas said gently, placing a coffee beside her. Talk to me. I can't, she murmured. You can. No, she repeated, stronger this time. I can't. You work with her. You belong here. You won't understand. He sat beside her. I understand more than you think. But she shook her head. It's not your problem, it's mine. She stood up. He reached for her wrist. She pulled away. That small gesture, that quiet recoil, hurt him far more than any argument could have. Amelia, he said quietly, don't shut me out. But she already had. Where she breaks, not loudly, but inevitably. That night, Amelia didn't go home. She walked, for hours, across bridges. Through alleyways lit by flickering lamps, past bakeries closing and restaurants opening, past couples kissing and arguing and laughing. Paris felt both breathtaking and cruel, like a city that adored you until you made one wrong step. By midnight, she reached the tiny park near her apartment, the one with the broken fountain and the iron benches. She sat down, finally letting the tears fall. They weren't dramatic. They weren't loud. Just quiet, exhausted, frustrated tears, the kind that hurt more because they felt so overdue. Back in her apartment, she turned on the bathroom light. Her reflection stared back, puffy eyes, trembling lips, messy hair, exhaustion painted in every line. She studied herself the way an art director would study a flawed draft. Who are you? She whispered to her reflection. If Paris doesn't like you? She had never asked herself that before. She didn't realize how painful the answer would be, because for the first time since she arrived, she wondered if she had made a mistake, if she was playing pretend in a city too sharp for her soft edges, if she was chasing a dream that didn't want her. Her phone buzzed. 18 missed messages, all from Thomas. Are you home? Please answer. I'm worried. Just tell me you're safe. He cared. He truly cared. But Amelia felt undeserving of comfort, of kindness, of him. So she put the phone down and cried again, this time into her pillow. For the next 2 days, she avoided Thomas, ignored his messages, dodged in that work, pretended she didn't see him lingering in the hallways. He looked tired, confused, hurt, and she hated herself for it. But she thought it was necessary, that she had to fix this alone, that letting him help would make her weak, that relying on him would make her dependent, and she came to Paris to rebuild herself, not to fall apart in someone else's arms. Her revised draft was a disaster. Not because she lacked talent, but because fear choked every decision. Every creative idea felt wrong. Every color felt off. Every concept felt embarrassing. She doubted herself completely, painfully. And the clock was ticking. Paris wasn't waiting. Where she chooses transformation over defeat. It happens on Wednesday night at 9:47 p.m. in the office. When she was the last person left, she sat at her desk, surrounded by crumpled notes and undone drafts, staring at the empty page like it was a judge. And suddenly, she remembered something. Her reflection in the bathroom mirror, that broken girl, that aching girl, that girl who didn't believe she was enough. That wasn't who she wanted to be. That wasn't who she was. Paris wasn't here to destroy her. It was here to reshape her. And she could either bend or break. She reopened her first concept, the wrong one, the one they rejected, the one Clément sabotaged. She stared at it, and instead of killing it, she evolved it. She blended her poetic, dreamy American style with Maison Lumiere's sharp, structured Parisian aesthetic. Soft curves plus bold lines, romantic lighting plus architectural angles, warm pastels plus dramatic shadows. She built a harmony between two worlds that weren't meant to coexist. She found a new rhythm, a new voice. A new Amelia. At 11:30 p.m., footsteps echoed through the empty office. She froze. Thomas stepped into the pool of warm lamplight around her desk. Tie loosened, hair messy, worry written across his face. "Amelia," he exhaled, "I knew you were here." She didn't speak. He sat beside her in silence, waiting. She finally whispered, "I'm scared." "Of what?" "That I don't belong here." He shook his head gently. "You belong more than most people I know. What if I fail again?" "Then you'll fail brilliantly," he said with a small smile. "And get up brilliantly, and try again brilliantly. That's who you are." Her throat tightened. "I didn't want you to see me like this." "I wanted to see you exactly like this," he said softly. "Real." The air between them warmed, softened, changed. She didn't kiss him. He didn't kiss her. But something shifted in that moment. Not romance, not yet, but something stronger. Trust. Thursday morning, the room was just as intimidating as before. But Amelia walked in differently, not as a hopeful newcomer, not as a broken girl, but as someone who understood Paris on her own terms. She presented. Her voice didn't shake. Her ideas didn't waver. Her vision was undeniable. Silence followed. Then one of the creative directors leaned back and smiled. "Finally," he said, "something new." "Elegant," added another, "and bold." Clémence was speechless, a rare event in the history of Maison Lumière. Thomas watched Amelia with a quiet pride she pretended not to notice. When they approved her concept, she almost couldn't believe it. But the look she gave Thomas after the meeting said everything. "Thank you for not letting me drown." And the look he gave her back said, "I'll always be here." Paris had been raining all afternoon, a soft, shimmering curtain that wrapped the city in a watercolor haze. The kind of rain that made people walk slower, made lights glow warmer, made emotions feel closer to the surface. Amelia hadn't planned anything special that evening, but she felt something in her chest, a pull, a momentum, a quiet sense that something was shifting. Not in the city, not in the agency, but inside her. And Paris always reacted when a person changed. Maison Lumiere's office was unusually calm when she walked out for the day. People smiled at her, really smiled, not out of politeness or curiosity, but out of recognition, respect, approval, belonging. Even Mark, who rarely noticed anyone, lifted a hand in a lazy salute. "Nice work today, Amelia," he said. The sentence was simple, but to her, it felt monumental. She had stepped into this city terrified she wouldn't survive its sharp edges. Now she was shaping them. But the real surprise waited near the elevator. Thomas, leaning against the marble wall, arms crossed, tie loosened just enough to make her pulse skip. He looked like someone who'd been waiting longer than ever. "Hi," he said. "Hi." She tried to sound casual. She failed. A beat. "You did something remarkable today," he added. She blushed. "I didn't do it alone." "You did," he corrected gently. "You just allowed me to watch." Another beat. The elevator arrived. Soft chime, silver doors sliding open. They both stepped inside. They didn't touch. They didn't speak. But the silence felt thick, electric, expectant. When the elevator opened to the lobby, Thomas hesitated. "You heading home?" he asked. Emilia nodded. "Walk with me?" A question that sounded simple, but wasn't. She swallowed. Yes. Paris was still drizzling, the kind of rain that didn't wet your clothes, only kissed them. Thomas held the glass door open for her, and they stepped into the cool, fragrant evening. The city glowed, reflections on the pavement, golden lamps flickering, car lights stretching like ribbons. They walked slowly, neither of them in a hurry. The rain felt soft, the air felt charged. Their hands brushed, once, twice, then again, until she wasn't sure anymore whether it was accidental or intentional. At the corner café, Thomas paused. "Coffee?" he asked. "In the evening?" She replied with a smirk. "You need sleep tonight?" "Absolutely not." He smiled, that half smile she'd grown addicted to. They entered the small café, slipping into a warm pocket of orange light and quiet music. It was nearly empty. Good. They needed empty. They needed space. 2 cups of espresso arrived, aromatic, dark, steaming. Thomas watched her over the rim of his cup. She pretended not to notice. Finally, he spoke. "Why did you avoid me last week?" She froze. Her breath caught. She looked down at her hands. "I didn't want you to see me fall apart." "I already did," he said quietly. "On the rooftop. That night you thought the fireworks were meant for you." She laughed, a soft, slightly embarrassed sound. "I wasn't falling apart that night," she whispered. "You were on the edge," he replied. "But you were brilliant. You were terrified and brilliant at the same time. That's why—" He stopped. She leaned in. "Why what?" He looked at her like she was the only point of clarity in a blurry world. "Why I wanted to be there for you." Her heart trembled. "And why I hated it when you pushed me away." She swallowed hard. "Thomas, I didn't want to depend on you. I didn't want to break in front of you." "You didn't break," he said. "You bent. And then you rebuilt." She didn't realize she was crying until he reached across the table and touched her cheek with his thumb. Gentle, hesitant, reverent. She didn't pull away this time. When they left the cafe, the rain had stopped. Paris smelled like wet stone and blooming jasmine. They walked again, slower now, closer now. Everything felt like a movie scene she was afraid to breathe through, afraid to ruin. Halfway across Pont des Arts, she whispered, "I wasn't avoiding you because I didn't care. I know. I was avoiding you because I cared too much." He stopped walking, completely. She turned to face him. The city folded around them, lights shimmering on the river, distant laughter, music from a nearby bar drifting in the air. But everything blurred except him. He stepped closer, slow, certain, heart-stopping. "Emilia," he said, voice low, "I need you to stop thinking you have to earn the right to be cared for." Her chest tightened. "I'm not used to it," she admitted. "Kindness this steady?" He lifted a hand, but didn't touch her, just hovered it near her. Close enough to feel the warmth, far enough for her to step away if she wanted. She didn't. "Then let Paris teach you," he whispered. Her breath hitched. "Let me teach you." Something inside her melted, unclenched, softened in a way she had never allowed before. But before she could speak, a woman's voice cut through the moment. "Thomas?" They both turned, and Emilia's stomach plummeted. She stood there under a street lamp, tall, elegant, everything Emilia wasn't. Dark hair in a low chignon, smart, expensive coat, perfect posture. Her eyes flicked between them and stopped on Emilia with a slight, unmistakable calculation. Thomas exhaled, a subtle, restrained sound that said more than words. "Emilia," he murmured. "This is Camille. Camille. Camille." The name tasted wrong in Emilia's mouth. Camille stepped forward. "So you're the new American," she said with a smile that wasn't entirely a smile. "Nice to meet you," Emilia managed. "Likewise, Thomas talks about you." A statement, not a compliment, not neutral, uttered his throat. "Camille and I, we used to work together." "That's one way to put it," Camille added. "I didn't ask for another way," he replied coolly. Emilia blinked. There was history here. Tangled, sharp history. Camille turned to Emilia again, her tone almost playful. "You're brave, stepping into Maison Lumière and stepping into Thomas's orbit." "Camille," Thomas warned. She held up a hand. "Relax. I'm just saying, he's not easy." Emilia felt her throat tighten. Thomas stepped closer to her, instinctively protective. "I think we're done here," he said. Camille smiled, but her eyes said not even close. "Bienvenue à Paris, Emilia," she said softly. "It gets complicated." Then she walked away, heels clicking like punctuation marks. The silence left behind was suffocating. Emilia stared at the wet pavement. "Your ex?" she whispered. Thomas hesitated. "Yes," he finally said, but not the way she implied. She didn't look at him. "Then how?" "We worked together for a year. We dated for 3 months. It ended mutually, cleanly." "That didn't feel clean." "She likes to unsettle people." "And it worked," Emilia muttered. He tilted her chin up with a gentle finger. "Hey, look at me." She did. His eyes were calm. They were burning with something unguarded, intense. "Whatever Camille thinks, whatever she says, she's not part of this." "This?" Emilia echoed. "This," he repeated softly. The word hung between them, alive, undeniable, dangerous. He didn't kiss her. She didn't kiss him. But they both felt the gravity pulling them closer. Destiny written in proximity. And he walked her home, the longest, slowest walk of her life. When they reached her building, she stopped one step below him, so they were eye level. "What now?" she whispered. He brushed a strand of hair from her face, tucking it gently behind her ear. Now, he echoed, now I say goodnight, because if I don't stop here, I won't stop at all. Her breath caught. When she arrived at Maison Lumière, she felt like she was floating. Nervous, hopeful, terrified. Inside the lobby, someone called her name. Emilia! She turned. It was Zoe, the intern from the design team, breathless and wide-eyed. You need to come upstairs, now. Why? What happened? Zoe took a deep breath. Camille is in Clémence's office. Emilia froze. Who? The woman from last night. I know her. Everyone knows her. She's connected. Connected, the worst word in Paris. Zoe lowered her voice. And she's talking about up the stairs like someone approaching a guillotine. Her hand shook. Her throat tightened. Her stomach flipped. But she pushed open the glass door to Clémence's office anyway. Inside, Clémence, Camille, and Thomas standing beside the window, jaw clenched. All three looked up when Emilia entered. Ah, Clémence said, with a smile sharp enough to draw blood. Just in time. Camille crossed her legs elegantly. Emilia, she purred. We were discussing the Renaissance campaign. A chill slid down Emilia's spine. Camille continued. I recommended Maison Lumière to my family's brand for their fall collaboration. Emilia blinked. Okay? And I mentioned you. Camille added. Emilia stiffened. Clémence leaned forward. Camille has concerns about your involvement. Thomas stepped forward. Enough. Not enough, Camille countered. Not when a multi-million-euro partnership is at stake. Emilia's voice trembled. What did I do? Camille tilted her head. Nothing, she said with a soft, dangerous smile. Yet. And then, but I prefer working only with stable teams. Teams without distractions, emotional complications. Emilia realized exactly what Camille was implying. Thomas did too. He stepped so close to Camille, the air shifted. You are not going to sabotage her, he growled. Camille smirked. I'm not sabotaging, darling. I'm evaluating. Darling? The word hit Emilia like a physical blow. Clémence seemed fascinated, like she was watching theater unfold. Camille turned back to Emilia. You're talented, she said. Really. But Paris doesn't just reward talent. It rewards control, discipline. She paused. And I'm not sure you have that yet. Silence. Cold, crushing silence. Emilia felt the sting behind her eyes. No, not here. Not in front of them. She lifted her chin and spoke, calmly, steadily, bravely. You don't know me. You saw me once, and you decided I was fragile. A breath. But let me tell you something. I survived your city's worst week. I survived sabotage, humiliation, and self-doubt. And I still delivered the best work I've ever done. Camille's smile tightened. I'm not fragile, Emilia finished. I'm new, and I'm learning. Fast. Thomas stared at her, awe flickering in his eyes. Clémence raised a brow, impressed despite herself. Camille slowly stood. For a moment, Emilia thought she might actually congratulate her. Instead, Camille leaned in. So close, Emilia could smell her expensive perfume, and whispered, Learning isn't enough here, chérie. She pulled back and smiled. We'll see if you survive the next storm. Then she walked out. The door clicked shut behind her. For a moment, no one moved. Then Thomas stepped toward Emilia. Are you okay? He whispered. She let out a shaky breath. No, she admitted. But I will be. Clémence stood, smoothing her blazer. You handled her better than most, she said. Perhaps Paris hasn't eaten you yet. Emilia blinked. Was that a compliment? Clémence crossed her arms. But be careful, she added. Camille plays to win. Then she walked out as well, leaving Amelia and Thomas alone in the office. Thomas reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. She's trying to scare you, he said. It's what she does. But she cannot touch your talent, or your place here, or... He stopped. Or what? Amelia asked softly. He exhaled, long, slow, deciding everything with one breath. Or how I feel about you. Her heart stopped, just stopped. He continued, voice lower, rougher, almost tender. I tried to keep distance. I tried to be careful. I tried to pretend this wasn't happening. He stepped closer. But last night, I knew. Knew what? She whispered. That if I kissed you, I wouldn't be able to stop. Her pulse soared. His hands hovered at her waist, not touching, not yet. And if Camille wants a war, he murmured, then she'll have to fight both of us. Her breath trembled. Thomas. He leaned in. Not enough to kiss her, but enough that she could feel the warmth of his breath on her lips. I'm falling for you, Amelia. Her knees nearly gave out. I'm falling for you too, she whispered. Only then did he finally close the distance, slowly, softly, like a promise, like a beginning. His lips touched hers, warm, deliberate, devastatingly gentle. A kiss that wasn't rushed or hungry. A kiss that said, I'm here, I choose you. We're not running anymore. When they pulled apart, she exhaled shakily. What now? She whispered. Now he smiled, not the polished one he used for clients, not the careful one he used at work, a real one. Now, he said, brushing his thumb along her jaw, we see what Paris has planned for us. 3 things became clear that day. 1. Camille wasn't done. Her shadow would linger, and she would strike again. 2. Clémence wasn't an enemy, not fully. Respect had begun to grow where resentment once lived. 3. Thomas wasn't a maybe anymore. He was becoming a force in her life, a risk, a comfort, a storm, a choice. And Amelia? She wasn't breaking anymore. She was becoming. Paris had tried to shatter her. Instead, it sharpened her. And the story had only just begun.